Hello, everyone. How are we doing? Right. Quick bit of housekeeping before we get into the Arsenal chat. So the lads and myself have had a bit of a conversation about the format of this podcast or live pod, whatever you want to call it. And we think that we want to position this as something slightly different to some of the other podcasts that are out there, some of the live pods that are out there. So let me set a bit of a scene, a bit of a picture for you guys that are listening into us. Imagine you are literally coming out of the ground right now, and along with a load of other, at the moment, disappointed Arsenal fans, you're going to the nearest pub that you can find to chat about the game with your mates, like we all do, but we can't do because we're all in this frigging lockdown, which we all detest so much, but we got to do it. So this is what we've all had a chat about. Everybody that's on the Gunnerstown pub, we've got a little WhatsApp group, as I'm sure you can imagine, and we've all decided, actually, let's frame this as a post-match pub chat. That is literally how we're going to do it. So from now on, every single pub chat that you get is going to be like that. It's going to be like, imagine if, when you go to the pub and you've got your mates around you in a little circle and you've got pints in your hand and you're talking raw emotion post-game. So what we're going to say is for future podcasts, pub chats, whatever it is, it's going to be raw emotion. So sometimes we're going to have opinions and they might be a little bit because we've all been drinking booze. The key thing about this is we don't want to position this as a podcast which is structured, and we want this to be unstructured chaos. Yes, people interacting each other. We want you to talk to us. Imagine as if you are virtually that person that is in our circle next to us. If you want to do that, all you've got to do is get onto the messages, put a message on. We're on Facebook. In fact, let me introduce Paul, Invinciblog. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're going to be the master of all of the online stuff. So all of the invisible people in our pub chat circle, you're going to be feeding across what they're saying so that we can talk about that, because we want this to be interactive. We want this to be an interactive podcast that you can listen to, and then people can listen to it afterwards, or they can think, actually, do you know what? I'm going to virtually just join this pub after. Imagine myself getting outside of the ground, because I can't be in the ground at the moment.
The comments are piling up already.
Exactly. So I've already talked for nearly 3 minutes, and I haven't introduced the tactics master, the coach, the genius. I'm not going to go into all this, podcast spill. It is randomness. So Mike, talk to me, baby. Talk to me.
Well, I feel like my balloon's been deflated. I've got to get that out there. I think our reaction is probably based on our expectation before the game, because I'm flicking through Twitter here just before I came on, and I feel like my balloon's been deflated, but I had quite a high expectation. I actually thought we were going to win. Crazy. But I suppose, and there's some folks out there who are saying, well, we didn't concede 20 shots. We didn't get, the floor wasn't wiped with us, and all the things that have happened in the past, and all of that is true. So putting it all into perspective, even though the game was just a damp squib, I suppose there is progress, there's no doubt about it. But I feel like the balloon got deflated a little bit for me today.
Yeah,
I agree.
Go on, Paul. No, you go.
It was kind of a game that slid into different kind of emotions for me. It started out and it felt so delicately poised. It was like chess, it was like I was on tenterhooks. It felt like, there was one little breakthrough that might happen. Somebody's going to make the first mistake and then crack the game open. And then it kind of, once they'd scored that first goal, it kind of felt like it settled into something else where we just started playing within ourselves. Like it was a timid, we weren't really pressing, we weren't really committing. We felt like we were shepherding the ball around and nobody was taking any risks. And it just, that's where the balloon started. And not like a pop. It wasn't a pop. It just went and kind of farted its way around the room and then came to a rest in the corner, and then the cat ate it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of comments I've just seen. So one comment about Ozil, and we don't need Ozil. Let's park that for now. So apologies if you're standing in the side of our virtual pub chat and you've just chipped in with that we don't need Ozil. We'll park that for now. He did say one of the things that Stewie has said though is that Pepe hasn't turned up and Willian didn't have anything. Can I offer slightly differing opinions there, Paul? I'll offer slightly differing opinions on that. I don't know what you think, but I agree with Willian. I think I think Willian's performance today was not that of the false nine that we would have hoped. I'm not quite sure what Arteta was thinking playing Willian as a false nine, because with the formation, and I wrote the formation down because I'm a sad loser, I wrote the formation down at the start. I thought it was Leno in goal, right back Bellerin, Luiz, Gabriel, Tierney as the three, and we had Saka on the left, Ceballos and Xhaka in the middle, Pepe, Ober and Willian. But Willian was playing central, wasn't he, Mike? And it just I don't think it worked in any way, shape or form. Mike, what do you reckon? What do you reckon, Mike? Come in, Mike. Ground controls, mate. He's gone. He's had enough. He's had enough.
He hasn't had anything yet.
I'm so frustrated.
It's interesting. What was Willian? What was he? Was he like a false nine or like a false 10 or a, at first it looked like Aubameyang was like in the middle, and then it turned out that no, Willian was in the middle, and it was kind of a little bit.
It's odd. Why are we not utilising? Why are we having Willian playing through the middle when you've got someone like Ober? Particularly when the ball comes to Tierney, the first thing he's looking at is that ball, that sort of curved ball over. And I mean, Emma has just said on Facebook, she just said, "It's Ober is like, is he still hugging the touchline? Is he still walking up and down the touchline?" It's like, why are we playing Aubameyang, however you want to describe it, along that width, if we're not going to play that out ball? I only saw that from Tierney like 2-3 times. I don't know. Mike, what's your thoughts on the whole Willian thing? Talk to me, baby. He's stunned. He's actually stunned. All right. Well, frustrations then, Paul. What do we think? Talk to me about your frustrations about, did this not feel like this was an opportunity to get at Man City with the injuries that they've got? And I think we just played within ourselves, didn't we?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. It just felt like we were timid. It felt like we were too comfortable in trying to draw them out. So like when it got to our midfield, instead of maybe trying to break through that line and find, like some movement up front and get into their box and take a shot, it felt like 75% of the time we were willing to turn around and pass it back, and try and play out from the back, which we weren't that great at, because City are pretty good at pressing. I mean, they were, I think we did turn over quite a few balls, or was it just me? Sometimes I feel like we're coping, and then sometimes I feel like we're not. And today I kind of felt like that we weren't going to pull off some spectacular goal from the back. We just generally tend to lose it.
That was do you know what? I make you absolutely right there. There was at least 3 or 4 times that I made a note where we gave the ball away in our own half, because I get the playing out from the back and it's really working, but I see us playing out through the back, and then when we lose the ball to a team like City in our own half, it just puts us under pressure straight away. I'm really hoping that, Mike, you're available to us to talk now, because you keep dipping in and out. Is it because you keep going to the loo in our virtual pub? Is that what it is? You've had too much to drink and you're buggering off.
You did tell me that this was a pub, so I've ordered lots and lots of drinks for you, and I've put them in the mail, because we don't live in the same country. Because I'm very conscientious like that when I'm in the pub. So, come to do my Wi-Fi. My thoughts on it, I think it's all based around one person, quite honestly. I think that a lot of our failings were down to the fact that, from what I saw, Willian was hiding most of the time in the first half and a large part of the second half. And he, we're all saying that Arsenal need that creative link. We all wanted Houssem-Aouar, and it didn't work out. Arsenal still have creative players, and he is the most creative of all the guys that are on the field, and it was left on the shoulders of the 19-year-old to go be creative. And he had a very good game in part, Saka, and and I felt sorry for the poor lad, because he was out there trying to do it by himself. William was playing false 9, wasn't he? For the most part, I know that they switched.
He was playing false.
Yeah, and he, for me, if you're going to play as a false 9 with William, I can see the logic in that, because he's got the skill set. But when we looked for him, he wasn't coming towards the ball to separate himself like Firmino does at Liverpool, and he wasn't running behind. So there was no point. And he's not a physical presence, so we can't go long to him. So the whole structure, I think, fell down because our creative player being put in a creative position and not being asked to go hang out with the centre backs didn't do his job. It was very, very frustrating for me. And I know people are picking. I see on the chat about Pepe. I get that, but Pepe wasn't fed. And you can feed Pepe with long balls. That's fine. We chose not to do that, but he's no quicker than the guy that was marking him, and so that's not going to work either. But we needed a connection, and there was no connection because our connection was he was down the pub like we were. Oh,
yeah. I agree. I think Willian and Pepe together on the field today kind of made us just fit like a very kind of timid. You know, I didn't feel. I think Pepe is kind of pushed off the ball rather easily. Like you said, I felt like Willian hid a little bit, and you know, there was just no incisiveness. There was no attack. It was just it just felt like we were waiting for something to happen, but you know, nobody wanted to be that thing that was going to happen except for Saka. Like that guy, he was fucking awesome as far as I'm concerned. Man of the match for me from our team.
But you'd expect more from the others, though, wouldn't you? I mean, if you had a highlights reel of Aubameyang, Willian, and Pepe, and then you put Saka's highlight reel together, I don't think that those other three created in any way any more than he did all by himself. And I think that there's some issues there with the centre of the midfield, which thankfully I think are going to be healed with our shiny new signing. But I saw Aubameyang making those in and out runs, wanted the ball over the top, ball not played. And that's been going on for quite a while now, that he makes those runs, ball not played. And we got to play it. And for me, it was a game of no risk. And I'm getting bored of writing the same blogs or the same comments in the same blogs, because that's what I'm seeing with Arsenal now. We play this game of no risk. Players are not opening their hips. Paul said earlier, very smart. He said, you know, I feel like the ball goes up, we go forward, we go backwards. We go sideways, then we go backwards again. And there's such little risk. And I've got one more thought before I'll shut up for a minute. Gabriel, in the 88th minute, finally got the ball and ran up the field and broke a line. And it's not that we need Gabriel to do that, but I'm thinking nobody else has taken a risk and thought, okay, I might lose the ball trying this, but we might also gain something by trying to do something a little adventurous. But I see no adventure in the Arsenal team when they play like this. So I'm just disappointed with the lack of adventure and risk. So, yeah.
I think that's a big problem, is we have a manager who is structurally setting up the team really, really well. And I go into these games not as absolutely terrified of a 6-0 drubbing as I used to. So that's a tick. So fine. Okay, brilliant. So the next bit is, can we actually go and win on? So there's a difference between making this competitive and turning this into a victory away from home. And that's the transition that we need to make at the moment, and it feels like that we're a bit off of that. It feels like he's essentially got us to a level where, you know, we're still in the game. We've still got opportunities. There was, with a few minutes to go, David Luiz just clips the ball into the box, and Aubameyang just beyond him. You know, Aubameyang's into that. He heads it in. You know, 1-1, and we're saying, oh, you know, not too bad. Changes the narrative. Emma, have yourself a drink, because the North London derby, it's a few weeks away, and I don't think that Tottenham are anywhere near the level of Man City. So don't worry. But what I will say is that we do need to create more chances. I think that's the thing that's really frustrating me. He's got the structure right in the team. We've got some good players, and the way that we're moving the ball and the way that we position ourselves when out of possession and in possession is good. But that final third against the big teams is where we need to really up it. And I think maybe also there's an element of us needing to maybe temper ourselves, because we have just played the two teams that last season were miles ahead of anyone else away from home. So Liverpool,
£63 million worth of defence on that City team. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, that doesn't say a lot, mate, does it? Let's be honest.
Hey, Chris, there's a good comment here from Andy Bailey. I'm gonna read. I'll put it on screen. We really needed to play 4-3-3 today, or at least change to it as soon as we saw Walker and Cancelo on the same side to nullify Alba. The 3-4-3 is all about damage limitation, but offers nothing in attack. It's 7 behind the ball and leave the front 3 to create amongst themselves. Saka was fantastic. Put him out wide and Alba through the middle. We need ball carriers. Why do people want Aubameyang through the middle when when he, twice he's almost got the golden boot playing off the left.
Well, I think it's he came. He's a centre forward by trade, whatever that means, right? So that's one reason, and I think it's the pain, Paul. It's the pain that people feel when we finally got the ball in the final third, and it's Aubameyang with his foot on it on the left wing, and I feel it too. I think a lot of people feel it, and it's the core problem. And you think, he's the guy that we need in the box. I agree with you, Paul. It's hard to justify putting him at centre forward because he's rivaling the golden boot every season. Every game, he's creating chances. Even in this game, he could have quite easily equalised. That was not offside. VAR would have called that a goal first half.
There were a few shitty VAR decisions, weren't there?
Yeah.
Can we talk about the right on half time? Can somebody explain to me why Kyle Walker can raise his boot 6 feet in the air? Gabriel was not stooping. He's 6'3", is he? He's taller than me, for crying out loud. I have to bend over when I get on the Jubilee line. So how is Kyle Walker that high? That's ridiculous. And all of a sudden, we're getting referees saying, "Nah, don't worry about it." And so sorry, I'm going on to a bit of a rant now. Apologies for those of you that are listening live. I apologise, but this is the pub, and sometimes you get to have an app, so you get to go in 2-footed on things in the pub. So here we go. Right, number one, that's a penalty, and Man United get themselves a after the whistle's blown penalty. So why is this suddenly not something that we can have? Anywhere else on the pitch, a high foot like that, the referee goes, that's a foul, mate. So step back. So it's a foul. Whether it's inside the box or outside the box, it's a foul. Or it's dangerous play. That's a penalty, number one. Number two, Cancelo. I think I'll just rake my studs down the back of Tierney's feet. So what happens if he rakes his studs down Tierney's calf in that opportunity, which was a yellow card, should have been a red? Sky talking about orange. No. Yellow or red. It's not a yellow. It's worse than a red. That's a red card. But let's just ignore that. Then we've got other situations. This is just happening every single week. We saw it today with the Liverpool. Do you know what? It's fun to laugh at other teams, but imagine if that was us, where one of Aubameyang's shoulder is offside or his heel is offside as Lacazette puts it into the net, and we don't win at the North London derby. It's ridiculous. VAR in the flipping bin, mate. In the bin until you get the PGMOL and Mike Riley out of the door.
Yeah.
Sorry. Relax.
Yeah.
I'll step back from the pub circle. Maybe we should let some other virtual people talk about. Like Steve Brown is asking why Xhaka is still at the club. Well, because he's good and retains the ball. And actually, every time the ball goes out from the defence, he's the one that's then recycling it over. Or Jay said, somebody needs to play centre. This is the downside of the Facebook comments because I don't know who needs to play centre, Jay. I'm guessing you're saying Aubameyang. Let's go back to that, Paul, because you're questioning why he needs to play centre. I'll step back and let other people talk.
Yeah, well,
Mike kind of answered that already. I think it's a debate that people are going to have forever. I just felt like today, without Lacazette or Nketiah, I felt that we didn't have anybody, any kind of fox in the box, anyone that was going to actually take advantage of the small chances that we created there. I felt like I just didn't feel like there were goals in us, and I think probably the team felt that too, because it's like we didn't try. I feel like we didn't really, push the point. We had a couple of shots. I think Saka had a really a good one that Edison tipped over the bar. I know we had 3 shots, I think, on target in the first, or 3 shots in the first half.
Well,
Chris has just said, why not play? Chris Farley has just said, why not play Partey to start with? And also Eddie has been on fire at the moment. It could have made the difference. I do wonder whether or not the subs could have. I think Partey, he'd only played a day and a half worth of training. I do wonder whether or not we should have given him an extra 10 minutes than he had, because he didn't really have much to do. But there's not really much you're going to do in 15 minutes, is it? Is there? Sorry, Mike, I interrupted. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, that was strange to me. He came on and was at the 81st minute. I didn't really understand that, and the game wasn't too hectic to where Arteta couldn't have seen the need for some kind of energy and again risk taking. But going back to the Aubameyang centre forward thing, that may well happen. because I think everyone would agree there's a second formation coming at Arsenal. We have one formation. We've been playing this 3-4-3 or 5, whatever it is, out of possession and in possession. It's more of a 4-3-3. But there's a second formation coming that's not 3 at the back, and it'll probably be birthed when we feel comfortable with our back 4 that we want to put out there. I know putting Gabriel. Gabriel is for me a sure starter, but putting him out there with anybody other than somebody like David Luiz might be seen as a bit of a risk because he's so young to the league. So maybe we're going to have to wait a little longer. But there's a new formation coming, and that may well include Aubameyang at centre forward. Which game was it, boys, recently that Aubameyang played at least a portion of the game at centre forward?
Sheffield United. It was the last 20, 30 minutes at Sheffield United, and it transformed the game. And actually, Pepe came alive in that game.
Yeah.
And I guess
but he came on as a sub, right? Pepe came on as a sub.
He came as a sub. What I would say to that is, I think in my mind, so I'm getting a little bit excited and grumpy and frustrated. But again, I need to temper myself by saying we've just played Man City, who finished second last year. Man City and Liverpool for the last 2-3 years have essentially been the teams fighting for it, and everybody else have just been watching them from on this plateau, on this sort of plinth from up high. We've just been watching up and feeding on the scraps. We've just played them twice, so it's going to be very, very different when we play West Ham away, Burnley away, Sheffield United away, Everton away. All of these teams are going to be very different to that Man City team, and I think that I need to measure my own stress levels, maybe with alcohol. That's why we're in the pub.
Yeah. I think recognizing the progress that we've made under Arteta needs to be taken as a given, and how much respect we have for the structure that he's managed to, get this team to play under. I mean, I think we had a 4-4-2 in defense today, which I hadn't.
At some stage.
That seemed new. So there's new stuff coming out all the time, and I think it's just amazing that we have a squad that can play under multiple formations when we've had squads in the past that haven't been able. It seems like they've been unable to. Sometimes they feel like a 1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1.
I'm sure Mike's desperate to get in. I will let Mike talk in just 2 seconds. What I will say just on the messages, Jason just said he doesn't get scared. This is from, I think, Facebook. Jason said he doesn't get scared going into games, and he trusts Arteta's system, which I think is pretty much what you were talking about there, Paul. Sorry, Mike, go on.
Yeah. I think we do have to step back. I know this is emotional because the game's just ended. My expectations were higher. I expected more, so that's why I feel a bit emotional. But ultimately, like Paul said, and again, I wrote about this last week, the building blocks are certainly in place, and I think that's why all Arsenal fans back the coach, is because they see that he's solidified the team, he's got organisation. This team is not in danger of going anywhere in the world, forget about the Premier League, and getting their butts beaten. So that's a huge change, because that was very much for the last 2 coaches a nervousness that we had and a reality that we lived. So there are building blocks. We do have to be patient. And Chris made a great point. We just played Manchester City away. And Manchester City are one of the best teams in the Premier League and one of the best teams in Europe. And, we're a Europa League team and they're a Champions League team. And we just lost 1-0. And if we're not Arsenal fans, we'd look at that scoreline and say, well, you know what? That's actually not so bad. I know that's not what, an Arsenal fan wants to feel or say, but the result isn't terrible. Everything's still fine. It's in place. And when Thomas Partey, who is the catalyst probably to this whole thing changing, finds his way into the first team, I think we'll see things start to shift and certain players go out and certain other players come in. I just hope that if Willian, as was talked about in the summer when he was purchased, to be more of an attacking midfielder and play more centrally, that was the whispers. If that's true, he better decide to play and not hide, because that guy was given the luxury position today and didn't perform. So, and I feel sorry for everyone else who's picking on the chat on Pepe and everybody else, and why this and why that. But if you've got a playmaker and you've given that guy the luxury of having a little more freedom to play a position that he wants to play, he needs to play. So, again, I'm frustrated by that.
Paul, question for you. Do you think that I've drunk too much alcohol because I've forgotten what I was going to ask.
I do think, Chris, I agree completely. I think it's the wisest thing you've said all night, and I'm probably going to get a tattoo with that on it. So,
Sammy Joe said the front three made Sammy Joe said the front three made no sense. What front three, Paul, for you makes sense?
Wow. I liked it when Saka was playing off the left, which he did maybe 15, 20 games ago, and he played it consistently, and he was cutting in and making great crosses. But that means, against everything that I've said, that Aubameyang needs to be in the middle, and then on the right hand side, Pep. There's different. I think different combinations work better together. If you're going to play Lacazette, then you need Aubameyang, and I don't know.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Steve Heath doesn't like Lacazette. Steve Heath, I think on Facebook, said he's never going to be a righty. Well, I don't think I couldn't agree with that more.
How many games has it taken for Lacazette to get his 51 goals?
I know, he's just not. And tonight was just weird. Like Mike, from
I'm serious. Compared to other Arsenal players, somebody out there will know.
Probably a billion.
Really, I don't think it's that much, Chris. I think you'll find that Lacazette isn't as shit as everybody makes him out to be.
No, but Mike, can I talk to you?
Like, you're a donkey. He's a pile of shit, and he's like starting for world champions and 100 goals for us, and sub record off the bench. Sorry, this is just
Paul. I know you love Lacazette. Have yourself a drink. Take a breath. Let me just say this tonight.
I'm going to mute myself.
Lacazette, no, don't mute yourself. Lacazette came on, and he was basically dropping deep. But when he was pressing higher, I didn't see a Lacazette that was chasing. So Aubameyang, Willian, and Pepe. When we started the first half, we were pressing really, really high. Lacazette was not pressing as high. I don't really know what instructions he was given. I'm not even sure he was given those instructions, but he impacted the game in no way, shape, or form. And Mike, I appreciate that maybe from a tactical perspective, sometimes you need to look at things once or twice, but give me some thoughts on Lacazette, please, because I'm a bit confused.
Yeah, well, I think Lacazette is a good player. I think he's good at holding the ball up. He's a good goal scorer. I think he's good in possession. This is to me when he's at his best. I think he's good on the ball, and I think he is just a 7 out of 10 footballer. He's what they say, a jack of all trades and a master
of none. Jack of all trades, master of none.
So to me, I think Lacazette in January, at the earliest, of course, and at the latest in the summer, will be sacrificed, because I think Arsenal needs somebody that's a little more devastating than him. And I also feel like you see that Arteta, ever since he's come in, has favoured these longer balls, either to get out of the press or just favours that ball over the top because they're pressing us high. And Lacazette, that's not his game either. To me, nothing that Arsenal do in any formation that we played makes me look at Lacazette and think that suits him. And he's a centre forward. And there should be some formation that suits your centre forward. And to me, he's just a good player. He's good. And sometimes he has really great moments, but it's so rare. And I don't think anything that Arsenal do suits him. I'm looking at a guy at Salzburg, you may know, called Patson Daka. He is devastating. And he took the place of Erling Braut Haaland, who went to Dortmund, and he is ripping it up. And, I know it's the Austrian league, but we've seen these guys come out of Salzburg. A lot of them are the real deal. And this guy is really fast, is a physical monster of a guy like Haaland. And I think Arsenal are looking at him, the guy to Celtic as well. So to me, I'm okay with Lacazette, but I don't think that the club are. I don't think that the club see him as the way forward, because there's nothing that we do that you think, this is going to suit Lacazette today, and he's going to have a stormer. And I think that that's the problem.
What happened to that Lacazette? Do you remember when sorry, Chris. Do you remember when there were those few games in the first season or the second season that he was with us, where there was a moment that he would go like, you know what, fuck this. I am going to make something happen. And there were a couple of goals he scored, like, he picked him up from the halfway line and he just forced his way through. He was like a James Bond, like a blunt instrument that just, just took it upon himself to grab a game by the scruff of its neck. What happened? I missed that. Saka had it, but why don't we have forwards that do that? I mean, I love Aubameyang, but it's not like he has great hold-up play. He's not fantastic, like winning long balls in the air. And even if he does, there's nobody there to get them. It's
Paul, here's
that.
I'll tell you what, when I close my eyes and think about Lacazette playing for Arsenal, I think about him running and chasing and pressing and chasing and pressing and running.
Doing that job, disrupting.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd say that's probably his number one best use. I don't want that to sound insulting, but he does that fairly well. But I'm wondering if that just runs the legs off the guy. And when it comes to Arsenal having to attack and him having to make a dynamic run off the ball, if he just doesn't feel like he has the legs for it, that's one issue. The other issue is if you watch Alexander Lacazette closely, his movement off the ball is his worst, least of those qualities. He never, ever makes two runs, which, as a coach, you teach your forwards, you can't make straight runs. You make a straight run, you'll just be followed. It's too easy for you to be marked. You don't do that. You zigzag, you zag-zig, you come, you go, you come. So you make yourself very difficult to mark just to get that half yard that we all know about that gives yourself that half or full chance to score. His movement is always easily read. And I think that might be his number one biggest problem.
Chris, who's your favorite front three? Who's your front three? Sorry.
So what I would say tonight is I would have gone Saka on the left because I think, again, he was brilliant, but I think we just need him further up the pitch. And he will also track back. So I just think that would have worked. Aubameyang I do think Aubameyang through the centre because, and people are saying, why do we need Aubameyang through the centre? But actually, we haven't seen enough of it through the centre. At Dortmund, he was a monster through the centre. So really good point, actually, from Andrew Short. And we kind of touched on that. Andrew Short just said we've had at least two hard away games out of the way and not the end of the season. I tell you what,
Andrew,
two hardest. I would say the two hardest games out of the way. So good shout there, Andrew. Saka on the left, Aubameyang through the centre, because particularly the way that Tierney angles those balls in. Can you imagine a ball? So let's just put a scenario in place. Right, we've got the ball deep. We've got a team that high presses us because we're drawing them out, because we play that deep, which sometimes terrifies us, but we need to get used to this. Arteta's getting us used to this, as opposed to Emery, where it was playing deep and we had no idea what was going to happen. It's with a purpose. Tierney picks up the ball and he's looking along that line. So imagine he's playing that line ball behind a wing back or a full back, and Saka's getting onto it. Where's Aubameyang? Aubameyang is very, very clever. He is in between those two centre forwards, and he's on their shoulders. And Saka has got great distribution. If that is an out ball, we will time and time again get Saka in behind, and he will find Aubameyang. So what Premier League teams are clever. They've got all of the data. They know that's what. So even if they start looking at that, that's when we need somebody. We need players behind him. We need other players. Maybe that's when we get Willian in. Maybe that's when actually this is the releasing the shackles of Thomas Partey. Because if he's going to be arriving into the box a little bit later, if he's going to be box to boxing with his energy and athleticism, maybe he gets more opportunity and space in behind. Or maybe Saka's in behind and there's Pepe that's coming in from the back into the front. So ball goes over the top. You've got Saka running into it, picking out a good ball. You've got Aubameyang on the end of it, scoring goals. If it doesn't go to him, maybe it goes to the far post to Pepe. Maybe Pepe takes that run. Maybe Pepe takes that run where he drops actually and lets the play sit back, and then he's a late runner towards the penalty spot.
Amen.
This is the type of football that we need to see, but we need to see it not just on that left-hand side. We need to see it on the right-hand side as well, so that we've got that balance, because otherwise teams are going to suss us out. Because 2 years ago, we had Kolasinac bombing down and cutting back, and teams just realised he's going to get to the byline and cut back. So just put bodies in that space.
Okay, Sorry. I've got one word for you, Mike. Maybe just Martinelli. Where does that go? What happens?
Well, for me, Martinelli, when I look at Martinelli, he looked like a centre forward, but he says that he's an inside left, and that's where Arsenal have played him. I see him as a centre forward. His profile, and that one, I think that might be the reason, guys, that we actually didn't dip into the centre forward market yet to replace, let's say, Lacazette, because we're waiting on this guy who's got bags of potential. We all see it. and maybe he's the centre forward we're lacking. If you've seen those training videos, those shoulders have doubled in size.
Getting bigger, yeah.
Those biceps and triceps have grown. He's
not Traore yet, but he's getting there.
Yeah, well, he's better in the air than anybody else at the club up front for sure. We've seen some of these 2 or 3 headed goals, and his technique, I can tell, is far better than Lacazette or Aubameyang. And so that's something we can be excited about. I wanted to also give a verbal round of applause to Chris, at least from my opinion, for the front three. That's the 3 that I want, Chris. No doubt about it. And this
virtual high five, virtual pub high five, man.
Boom.
So then, guys, you've got Martinelli, Lacazette, and Nketiah all like, what are they doing? Just floating around. Wait, one of them getting every 3 games as an impact sub? How does that work?
Okay, well, this is what I would do. This is my first choice based on what we've got available right now. And we'll talk about Martinelli afterwards. I would do exactly what Chris said, because to me, the underachiever is Pepe. He's the guy that's frustrating the life out of everybody. And let's forget about his price tag. Forget about it for a minute. Just look at his performances. It's great. It's average. It's poor. It's great. It's average. It's poor. It's all over the map. And when you pick him, I feel for Arteta, you don't know what the heck you're going to get. I mean, do you? I don't know what we're going to get from him. And so to me, when I see him and I watch Mohamed Salah, I see a very similar player. But Pepe doesn't get anywhere near the opportunities to be given the ball in the areas where he would be most dangerous in versus Mohamed Salah. But you think about it, Pepe, that whipped cross to the back post is a strength. And his finishing, huge strength, hardly ever finishes. So to me, he has to play inside right, not outside on the wing, because he attracts a crowd and takes way too long to beat his man. So you move him inside. So what you've got to do tactically, if you have an inside right, you've got to have somebody offering width. So you play Saka, because Saka is more of a natural winger. He can hold the width out left. So you've got a wide guy left. You've got your right forward tucked inside, where he can shoot 3 or 4 times a game, like Salah, like Mahrez does. Same thing, not stuck way out on the wing. And you've got a centre forward, and that's, to me, actually, that's the debate, because I think I would rotate Martinelli and Aubameyang, and I would probably be inclined to sell Lacazette, send Nketiah out on loan, or maybe have him as an impact sub, because he is proven to be more of the Ian Wright Fox in the box type player. But first of all, I want to see Pepe inside, and I want to see Saka outside, and then I want to see what happens when Martinelli comes back.
Just a couple of things. Sorry to interrupt there, Paul, but number one, I don't know what Nketiah is. It's either some sort of Greek team that plays in the Europa League, or it's some sort of patch that you put on when you've stopped smoking. But secondly, Jay Green on Facebook. Sorry, Mike. I had to get that one in there, mate. Apologies. Jay Green says he feels we're too passive in midfield. Jay, Thomas Partey. That's all I'm going to say. And the third thing is, I'm really sorry, but just like a pub, I'm going to have to drink my drink and make a leave, because I've got a steak that I've got to put on. So I'm going to leave you lads in the pub, having a drink and talking to the virtual pub friends that we've now accumulated, and hopefully we'll accumulate loads more virtual pub friends over the next week. Lads, have a good one. Keep out. I think we're all keeping our chins up, to be honest, aren't we? Because I thought we didn't play great. We played within ourselves, but like, this is my Jerry Springer final thought, by the way. we didn't play great. We played within ourselves. There was an opportunity missed, but I'm sticking positive as I drink my half bottle of rum, which has now disappeared. So anyway, let's catch you in a bit.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Chris.
No worries, mate. Laters.
Yeah. See you next time. Yeah. So, Mike, you know what it is. When we're on shows like this, it's, you know, and you're giving your opinion, I know it feels like we're always moaning, and you know, you're one of those guys who writes a post-match blog. I don't know if you can have the energy to do one today, but yeah, and your blog is called Positives, Needs, and Hopes, which is really, you know, it's a very positive. You have a way of looking at things and not, you know, making us feel worse afterwards. What would you say was the positive that you would take out of this game? The main positive that you would take out of this game?
I suppose the main positive is step back, remember the past, look at where we were, where we are, and the fact that in the 92nd minute, we were in the game. That has to be undisputedly the biggest positive, because football is ultimately about the score. And we, in the past, were miles away at the 92nd minute from being able to win, draw the game, or even competitive, let's be honest. So maybe that's more than one step forward, Paul. Maybe that's 2 or 3 steps forward. And the other piece of it is, is that a one-off? I don't think that's a one-off, because Arteta has gone and beaten, Liverpool, was it twice, and Manchester City once, and he's beaten Wolves and Sheffield United a couple of times. And so I'm not looking at a situation now where I'm thinking, well, I'm still nervous about going away to White Hart Lane and Old Trafford, because we could get ourselves killed, because we did okay today, but we're just not there. I have so much belief in our coach. So short term, not the best, but the long term and medium term picture is still very rosy for Arsenal.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think and Arteta has said specifically that we need to close the gap, that huge void of 41 points or whatever it was between us and Liverpool at the end of the season. And closing the gap is these small incremental, these tiny advances, So instead of losing 3-0, you lose 1-0. And then the next game, maybe you draw. And then, then the next. I mean, today, let's face it, if Aubameyang had put that goal through and it had been 1-1, and, the game's different. Now, suddenly City have to play to a different plan. Yeah. We had chances. I mean, I think that we had chances. They didn't have that many in the second half. I think, they had some good ones, but and their XG or XFPR was probably better than our XBLSHIT. But we did have chances, and we've taken those before and turned a game on its head. And I think that could easily have happened today. So it's kind of like one of those games where it could have been 1-0 to, or 1-1 or 2-1 maybe. It's just there were like a lot of outcomes. Do you feel that we could have, pulled off a shock win there? How did you feel going in that we might?
No doubt. Anytime that you're in the game, I think anytime the game is 1-0, then you're in the game, and I think that has to be the greatest benefit. And the other one that we missed there is the obvious penalty situation. I think that could have changed everything. It was right on halftime. That swings the whole mood in the locker room. Sorry, the changing room at halftime, and that was an obvious penalty. So
it was funny.
I think that there's.
The pundits were saying, "Oh, appeal for handball there," and Gabriel, it was like they totally missed the fact that the guy's boot was like flailing around at the height of the crossbar. You know what I mean? It was like sometimes you listen to the pundits talking, and you're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Oh yeah, that was definitely offside, and you go like, and then the VAR will say not offsides. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, it wasn't offsides." I thought it was offsides at first, but then I realized. I mean, they're just idiots. I'm sick of listening to them spew their rubbish. Anyway, I interrupted you. So yeah, that penalty could easily have changed things, right?
Yeah, it could have, and I'm still looking forward. I suppose that the other positive is that I'm waiting for this second formation, Paul. I know it's going to happen. I think it'll happen probably. Is it Tuesday? We play Rapid Vienna. I think he'll probably trial it in the Europa League, and it's probably going to be a 4-3-3. I think because at least I'm not seeing William worthy of playing a 4-2-3-1 and putting him as a number 10. So I think the 4-3-3 is where we're going to go. I had a question for you. If we did go 4-3-3, because that's what most Arsenal fans think we're going, what would be your optimal lineup?
I would go probably with the people we have, or with injuries, people returning from injury. With what we have, I'd say Bellerin. It was interesting that Arteta had Holding starting over Luiz today, and then he injured himself in the warm-up. But so Bellerin, I quite like Holding. I do agree with you that having somebody like kind of mature Luiz style character next to Gabriel would help. But I would go with Bellerin, Holding, Gabriel, Tierney, and then probably Xhaka, Partey, and Ceballos, with Ceballos kind of as the slightly forward of those three, and Xhaka as the slightly back, and Partey kind of having a roaming role. I think, utilizing his mobility and his defensive thing, I think he'd be able to move up and attack and be that box-to-box guy arriving, and also the guy that can help protect, the back four. And then I would probably have, I'd probably play, it's either Saka, Aubameyang, Pepe, or Aubameyang, Lacazette, Pepe, or Willian as the front three.
Come on, pick the team, be decisive.
Mick just said, not Xhaka, Jesus. I don't think Jesus plays as a defensive midfielder. I think he's more of a... Anyway, sorry, what were you saying? That's your team?
Yeah, I said, so if you were being super decisive and had to pick the front three, what would you do?
I would probably play Aubameyang, Lacazette, Pepe.
Okay. All right. Can I have a go?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So I've got one that's going to make the comments blow up here because people probably not going to like it, but I've been...
El Neni.
El Neni in goal. I've wanted this for a long time, and I'm happy to agree with people who think that I'm insane. And if Woz is watching this, he's going to turn off now because he does not even like this player. But Arsenal have just signed this, this multi-purpose, functional, all-action midfielder that we're all likely to see, who can defend, attack, break lines, and pass. But I think there's a junior version of him at Arsenal already, who has not been given the chance on the team sheet to play midfield, even though he plays midfield when the game is in motion. And so here's my lineup. I'd go with Leno, Bellerin, and Tierney, with Gabriel and Luiz. I would invert your triangle, Paul, in midfield. I'd play Dani Ceballos as the defensive midfielder because I think he reads the game well and he's good on the ball like Jorginho to circulate it. Yeah. Didn't play very well today, but and then in front of Dani Ceballos, I would have Thomas Partey on his right-hand side as the central right midfielder, and then I would have Ainsley Maitland-Niles as the central left. And Granit Xhaka played well today. He might have been one of our best players, and I would definitely rotate Granit Xhaka. I'd use Granit Xhaka, and I like him. But I think Ainsley Maitland-Niles is a junior version of Thomas Partey. The guy has a very good passing range if you allow him to utilize it. He's another line-breaking player. We see that at left wing back, and the few times he has played central midfield, he loves to run with the ball and break the lines, and we're desperate for somebody to break the lines. He's got defensive positioning. He's just been taught by Arteta playing in the back, so I think his defensive game is better. So I think if you gave him a chance to play in a midfield three, you'd have two box-to-box players in Thomas Partey and Ainsley Maitland-Niles that could actually get us into the final third, because, putting Willian there or inverting Pepe and all these ideas, nothing has really worked yet. So I think the other way of doing it, Paul, is you have your midfielders bring the ball to the final third if there's nobody there to connect with. And then up front, I'd have, as I said earlier, Saka on the left, Pepe as an inside right forward, and Aubameyang at centre forward. And I'm very excited with Martinelli coming back. But what do you think about my insane idea of Maitland-Niles as a central midfielder?
I really like Maitland-Niles. I think he's a great utility player. He has obvious skills, and I think he's getting better and better as his confidence grows, and his confidence has grown with Arteta using him more. I don't know. It's a tough one. I'm trying to imagine, because the thing that makes me nervous about Maitland-Niles is when he drifts out of games. I think he's been better at that, but I still feel like there's moments where he just doesn't see, like he just seems to kind of vacate the premises, and then he comes back again, and by then a mistake has happened. But maybe having him much further up the field means those mistakes won't be as costly, so there's something to be said for that. We've got other players that would be kind of, if looking in our youngsters, to play that role like Smith Rowe, or even Willock seems to have more of an ability to break the lines and stuff. Comfortable with the ball.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting call, because I think Maitland-Niles is a very coachable player. I think that he knows how to fulfill the role. I'm just not sure he's naturally that player that we need to be that, to take that responsibility. That's how I feel, just in my heart. But you had Bellerin, Luis, Gabriel, Tierney, Ceballos, Partey, Maitland-Niles, and then who do you have? Saka? No, Saka and Pepe.
Pepe is an inside right forward, again, in that Mohamed Salah role, and then Aubameyang at centre forward. And I also like what Mick in the chat says, Mick Oram in the chat with Smith Rowe. Honestly, based on profile and talent, I'm pitching Ainsley Maitland-Niles as a line-breaking central midfielder. I think Smith Rowe might be the most talented of all the options we have. Of course, every time we'd love to, give him his birthday present. He falls sick, doesn't he? So it's hard to know what he can actually do. But the few glimpses that we've had of him, he looks like a guy that could bring the ball into the final third and is creative when he gets there. Joe Willock, of course, can bring the ball all day long. He's got those legs to bring the ball between the lines, but seems to have a brain freeze when he gets into the final third. But anyway, my Maitland-Niles story is based on not just his desire to play there, but the fact that when he plays left wing back, he actually plays central left midfield anyway. We see him tucked inside, don't we? And we've seen it for England. And to counter your point, I know he has brain absences, and I know that's been an issue, but he's also the guy that in the big games that Arteta's played, he's always played Maitland-Niles, and he's always done a very, very good job.
Yeah, I do agree about that. I think I'm really curious to see, once Martinelli is back, what Arteta does with the people that we have up front, because we're now starting to have some serious depth. With the Martinelli, Lacazette, and Nketiah, Aubameyang, Saka being able to play up front or as a wing back, Pepe, Willian, as you say, the Maitland-Niles parties, got more of that Ramsey style box to box ability, and also I've seen him shoot from outside the box and score some fantastic goals. I'd like to see a few of those happen. I just feel we need to take more shots, and create a little bit more havoc in the box, which then Aubameyang or Nketiah or whoever's in the box then has the chance to kind of, feed on those kind of scraps and make something out of a bit of that, that panic that you can create by shooting, getting the balls and getting the crosses. And Saka and Tierney used to get way more crosses into the box, and there were people that were there waiting for it. Today, there were times that they were up front and you looked across and there was there's nobody, Yeah.
I like what you said about the crossing. I remember first seeing Tierney's crosses, it was in the Europa League, and then Saka in the Europa League, but it was Martinelli in the box. And it was Martinelli that was finishing them off with Nketiah as well. Some beautiful finishes. It's just not Aubameyang's game, and that's why, even though I put him at centre forward, I'm still reticent, because he's not aggressive. He's the opposite of aggressive, whatever that word is. And also, playing with his back to goal on the halfway line, he's going to get kicked. And is he the guy that you want to be on the injury table because he keeps being kicked?
That's kind of what I was saying. He's not somebody who's great at hold up play, back to goal. Like I'm getting the ball. I've seen him do it on the wing and rescue us a little bit. But that role of being like the only guy with three defenders bearing down on you and holding it up, he's never struck me as that person. And that role has to be played. You need in this day and age, I think you need a forward who can create some release, by being on, parking him on the halfway line for that break and giving the team some respite, while they try and get back and transition. And I don't know, I've never seen Aubameyang kind of play that centre forward role. I'm sure he's not that guy. He needs balls over the top and he needs space to run onto, and then he's lethal. But how often that chance against the low block or against a team like City that's pressing us, so relentlessly, it's very hard to get those shots off,
Yeah. I would just love to see Arsenal find a player, whether it's a 10 or a line-breaking midfielder, bring the ball into the final third and see Aubameyang at centre forward. making those short little diagonal runs into little pockets of space in the box and just being given those thread balls. You were saying earlier about Lacazette and what's the difference in the past and the present Lacazette. I remember when Lacazette was playing in front of whether it was Ozil or whoever it was, and he was getting those shorter little thread balls between the centre backs for him just to turn and shoot.
And he was a two-touch guy. He was like,
that was his strength, and he's an instinct player. If you give him time to think, I don't think he's a super footballer, but if you give him no time and let him play on instinct, I feel the same way about Aubameyang. He's so quick. If you were just to thread him balls and have him just turn and shoot, we don't do that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we have much incisive play. I don't think we create the opportunities that our forwards deserve, put it that way. I think that the biggest breakdown in this Arsenal team, and it has been for a couple of years, is the link-up play. We're getting better at playing out from the back to the middle. We used to struggle with that. The middle used to not give options to the back, and they were under tremendous pressure, and they normally cracked under that pressure.
Yeah.
We've got better at being able to link to the middle, but our issue still is finding the link between the middle and the front in the final third.
And there you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly Arsenal's biggest problem. And then if other people say Arsenal's biggest problem is they don't shoot enough, they don't score enough, but you have to rewind to what you just said, because what you just said is the reason why they don't shoot enough and score enough.
Yeah. I think I might have accidentally stumbled on that. I probably meant to say something else, but I'm glad that you picked up. I'm glad that you picked up on that. But well, we've got Rapid Vienna coming up, and then after that, what's our next league game?
Is it United, Leicester, Tottenham? There's something coming. Is it Leicester?
There's some tough ones. It's like we're playing the top 6 all in a row, right?
Yeah, I'll look it up here whilst you're thinking on it. I think it's Leicester. Here we go. We got Rapid Vienna on Tuesday. Actually, it says Thursday. I'm sorry. I thought it was Tuesday. I saw it. Yeah, I wish. And then Leicester at home. Leicester at home on Sunday. So that should be interesting because they're a team that like to sit back and counter like we've been sitting back and countering. So be interesting to see how that game sets up.
And then after Leicester, we have
Dundalk, the mighty Dundalk at home in the Europa League, and then we have United away, and then we've got another Europa game against Molde, and then we've got Villa at home, and of course that would have looked like 3 points in the past, but
yeah,
credit, right? Villa are doing well, and then we have Leeds away, and then we have Wolves at home. And then we have Tottenham away. So we
would have got away. We would have played Liverpool away, City away, United away, Tottenham away, Leicester away, Leeds away, all in the first half of that.
Yeah.
Season.
You're not. Hold on a second. You said Leeds away. Yeah, that's correct. United away, correct. Yeah, you're right. Golly, gosh. Because Leeds, that's going to be a heck of a game. They're the real deal. Tottenham away. You said that one. So, yeah, you make a really good point. There's until we get to December the 12th where we play Burnley at home. I'm not saying that's a gimme, but that would be the first time I'm looking at these fixtures and thinking we're definitely going to get 3. I feel like we should get 3 in that one. So we got a tough run.
We've got a tough run, but then hopefully, it starts paying off in the second half of the season when we've got, as much as home games mean anything without a crowd, maybe we'll be on the brighter side of where we normally in the dark side in the past, where you look at the run in and you go, we've got United away, Liverpool away, Spurs away, Leicester away, Wolves away, and like 2 home games in our last 7. If we've got some of the big games have taken care of, and it'd be great to get a draw where we've lost. It's not. I think it's good. All this progress, this incremental progress, is working, and I'm quite positive for the season. To be honest, I think we can make top 4.
Yeah, I definitely think that too. I hope that they don't feel too dejected by today, and I think that Arsenal are about to be transformed when they get Mr. Partey on the field anyway. Were you surprised that he didn't start today?
I don't know about surprised. I thought Arteta would do what needed to be done. And actually, when Partey came on, I felt like he was a little bit behind the pace for the Premier League. I felt like I think it was a little bit tougher than, I don't think he dominated. And I think it's funny because I saw players kind of avoid passing to him. It seemed like a lot, it felt like they were playing, passes to the people that had been on pitch for 90 minutes and not necessarily, maybe it was protecting him. But what did you think about his cameo? Because it was just a cameo, really, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I was a little bit surprised they didn't play him as the box-to-box. They seemed to play him as the DM when he came on, and we were needing a goal. And I thought, oh gosh, but maybe it was because he didn't quite have the legs. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But I think what will happen is that he'll start on Thursday in Austria. And that's more, but based on. Arteta seems to be playing strong teams in all competitions, at least to start with. He has done it in the Carabao Cup. He did it in the Europa League last year. He started fairly strong and played a lot of first-team players. So I think we'll get to see Thomas Partey in his optimal role first on Thursday, and I'm not sure we'll get to see that yet in the Premier League. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I do think that Arteta is probably going to ease him in a little bit. I think at the point that we've just started to establish some kind of structure and steadiness, let me put it like that. I think it might be silly of Arteta to switch to something completely new and put people's noses out of joint and maybe upset the balance, because we've got a little bit of a balance, that I think that we haven't had. So I think he's going to find a way. It's like working on a moving vehicle, right? So you're a mechanic. And suddenly, like, the car is breaking down, but you're on it, and you still have to drive forward, and you still have to do the things that you need to do. We don't have the luxury of a preseason and getting somebody in. So I think that any kind of move that Arteta makes is going to be tempered by the fact that we still have to have that momentum and keep that momentum and that structure.
Yeah, I love your point about bringing them in slowly and not upsetting the balance, because as fans, we don't often even care about those kinds of things, and we just pick the team from our couch and just throw the players out there that we like and forget about the human element of, if you've got a new guy who's just shown up on the block and he gets thrown straight in when you've got other guys that quite honestly have been playing quite well. I don't think any of them, El Neni, Ceballos and Xhaka, have been playing well in every game consistently this season, but certainly they've all had very good games and periods, and I think it would somewhat demoralize them. It'd almost be like, well, you just want to chuck me in the bin straight away as soon as the new guy shows up, but the new guy hasn't even proved to you that he's any better than me. You're willing to chuck me in the bin. And the human element, I think if you were given that opportunity as a coach, I think you'd love to be able to challenge the guy to prove to you that he's worth the money you just spent on him, and prove to the others that he's better than them, because then nobody can throw their hands up in the air and say, well, what the heck just happened there? Because he's been given a chance to prove it, and he's proven it. So I thought he was going to start today only because it was Man City away. He's a Champions League player. They're a Champions League team. And we just really need his skill set right now,
It's true. That's true. While you're talking about the fact that all those players have had, they've all had some decent games, and then some where they kind of haven't been that great. But I was just thinking how thankful I am that we've cut that part out of our game where one or two of our players would make massive fucking mistakes and cost us the game.
Yeah.
Either themselves sent off or dive in on the halfway line, or do some stupid ass fucking clown car defending thing and ruin the game, and we haven't done that for like at least 2 or 3 games now. So I think that's a positive thing, right?
Yeah, it has to be. And as soon as the goal went in today, I went onto Twitter. I don't normally do that because I don't want to see the vitriol, but people were throwing sticks at Leno and Bellerin, and I'm thinking, Leno, maybe they were saying he should have held it. I don't know about that. or he should parry it. Well, he did. Should he parry it wider? And they're picking on Bellerin. I actually thought it was Danny Ceballos that started off the issue with the counter attack. But anyway, to your point,
I think he slipped after that first save.
Yeah, he did slip, but
he couldn't get a grip, and
to your point, I think if that's as bad as it gets, that people want to throw sticks at that situation, they need to do what you've just suggested: is go back and look where we were at, because that was nothing compared to and forget about that one incident. That was a great finish by Raheem Sterling. There were other situations in the game, but there was nothing that Manchester City created, at least to my memory, where I thought that was because of a lack from Arsenal or a mistake from Arsenal. And we were offering up those on a golden platter, 3 or 4 a game, weren't we?
Yeah, we were. I reckon we need to tie this up. It's been it's been fun. I don't know what well, it's been fun for me, and I'm on it. I don't know what the listeners or the viewers think. Maybe it's a bit too rambly, but I've really appreciated everybody's feedback and the comments that have come in consistently. There's some great ones. You could almost do a show where you just read the comments, but sadly we can't do that. Sometimes we're too busy talking. Anyway, so please, folks, if you do get a chance, please follow us on Twitter and like us on YouTube and things like that, and Facebook. All of those things kind of help, just to help us reach a wider audience. And we appreciate your sticking with us and being part of it, this new Gunners Town pub thing. You got anything to add there, Mike?
Yeah. Just for those of you that like to read, when I get off here, I'll be writing my post-match review. I do it after every game. I know some of you guys on the chat, I recognize your names, and you read my stuff anyway. It's called Positives, Needs and Hopes, as Paul said earlier, and it's on gunnerstown.com, and you can read it through Gunnerstown or read it through my Twitter handle, which is probably up there. So just give it a go. It's something very different from your average post-match review. So give it a shot.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you again for everyone. We're going to play you out with our wonderful outro. So up the Arsenal. Cheers.